What's up, team? This is Frank, and this is Metro Exodus. This game is based on the third book in a series by Dmitry Glukovsky. I really don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that some of the plot devices were predictable and others improbable in a way that had me rolling my eyes here and there. However, this might also be due to the game's voice acting, which was hit or miss most of the time.
Look, we're just passing through. Let us through peacefully. Our guys won't shoot. We've been easy on you people.
The game does a decent job of making the world feel alive. Characters live out long expositions, and you even get to join in at times. Some of these moments were charming, but the game also has a tendency to miscue the spoken lines, causing some people to leave awkward pauses and others to interrupt conversation with an early line. It made some scenes hard to follow, and I was definitely confused about what was happening early on. So this game takes you on a journey through 4 main locations. The first 2 maps are more open world with plenty of room for activities, while the last 2 become more linear and straightforward. Although the game encourages and tries to reward you for exploring and looking around, I found the repetitive nature of skulking, looting, and fleeing rather fatiguing. Like, check this out. Enemies fall into 2 categories: radiated monsters who are predominantly melee, or humans who are mostly ranged. Monsters drop nothing when they die, rendering them freakishly dangerous ammo sponges. And since ammo and health packs can be difficult to procure, I found it best to stealth around and avoid these beasts where possible. Humans do grant a small looting reward, but in general, avoiding battle and stealth killing is the best way to go. Now, if you collect things that turn into wrenches or science, you can pull out your crafting backpack to make a few things like health packs, filters, and limited ammo. But sporadically, there are these safe houses with workbenches, which afford you a full repertoire, including the ability to repair armor and clean weapons. You can also swap out weapon mods at any time, and the only way to find new mods for your gear is to loot some random caches in the environment. As for the details, the game is a mix between arcadey action and realistic outcomes. Like, health doesn't regen, and high falls are fatal. Also, running for too long gets you panting with a heavy heartbeat, and some actions really pronounce the weight and heft given behind them. Also, having a minimal HUD, seeing your physical body, and the fact that the map is literally clipped to a clipboard really gives you a sense of immersion and realism in this unforgiving wasteland. But on the arcadey side, you can quick save and load anytime, and you can heal by stabbing yourself with a small needle that you can craft on the fly from whatever you find around. And the fact that each map has a ridiculously scary beast, often accompanied by a scripted event to take it down, as well as the fact that boats, weapons, and key upgrades are often found exactly when they're needed, tend to break the immersion despite the constant and painstaking effort to animate large amounts of movement and behavior. And that's it. That's everything you need to know about Metro Exodus. In the end, the game provides you with tons of dialogue and a full-fledged story in a truly frightening and perilous world. The visuals are pleasing, and the environment and animation say a lot about the detail put into the game. The slow power creep from random upgrades was interesting in that I had to specify and prioritize some modifications. Like, do I want a compass which points out objectives, or a loot detector which beeps when it senses something? Or would I rather have more armor, hold more utility items, or carry more ammo and grenades? But in order to find these upgrades, you have to explore the map for random caches, and the easiest way to do this is to get a good view of the surroundings, pull out your binoculars, and scan around the horizon. Doing this will often litter your map with way too many question marks to search through, and it's not like each of these question marks have upgrades. No, some offer rewards which barely cover the cost of ammo and health packs that it took to procure them in the first place. Except for the few times where it's not an option, I would highly recommend that you play it slow and stealthy. Going in guns a-blazing can often be costly, and the game seems to be designed for you to find that right sneak and dispatch path coded in. However, the few times I raged in this game were when my stealth plans, which I carefully forged in the shadows, were foiled by some environmental bug or mishap, then only then I realized that I forgot to quick save before I embarked on this journey of frustration. Many surfaces and ledges can be surmounted, but sometimes the angle, height, or alignment with the moon isn't quite right, and your attempts will be rejected. Also, I died a couple times from ridiculous situations, like the water in this game is either knee-deep or Mariana's Trench with nothing in between. And the default bindings for your melee attack and grenade toss are right next to each other, which added a comedic if not frustrating nuance to a few of my deaths. You'll definitely want to map your own key bindings, especially when you're, say, frantically reaching for the L key to pull out your lighter. And one last thing, I often preferred stealth simply because the combat can be predictable and sometimes took longer. It often felt like a shooting gallery as enemies shifted in and out of new cover locations while getting picked off. And when you snafu a mission, the enemies will continuously spew vulgarities that would make your mother blush. It was cool to have enemies actually give up and beg me to spare them, but otherwise, making a noise and picking off foes as they approach like moths to a flame was disappointingly effective. If you're looking for a shoot and loot, collect and craft FPS based in a terrifyingly dangerous land replete with ominous sightings and quick time events for your life, and don't mind some bad voice acting which culminates in a decent ending, then you might really enjoy Metro Exodus. If you hate games that benefit from quick saves or have subtle inconveniences to promote realism, like having to wipe your mask when it gets dirty, change filters after exposure to too much radioactive dust, and needing to pull out your map just to see where you are and what your objective is, then you might not like this game.